I am never gonna forget that day. It was the school talent show and the gym was completely dark. Then when the curtains were drawn, the lights came up on Jesse Fowler. And my God, was he good looking. And then the next thing you know, Michael Jackson's Beat It came on from the stereos. And I said, now I had a white boy let a dance like that. Ow. But then Mason Emore leaned over to me and he said, you know he's gay, right? And I cringed, knowing what a horrible thing that must be at our school. And well, okay, to be honest with you, I really didn't know what that meant, but I knew that Jesse was one of them. But then the audience started cheering and applauding, and I don't know how long it lasted or when it started, but it seemed that gays got a lot of applause. In a recent study done by HRC.org, they wrote that 7 in 10 LGBTQ plus youth are harassed by bullies, co-workers, friends, and even their own family members. Now, in the society that we live in today, it is so important that we are constantly striving to lift each other up, then discriminate each other against beautiful differences. Because in the wise words of my queen, Miss Lady Gaga, baby, you are born this way. In order for us to see any progress moving forward, we need to start accepting each and every person for who they are. Because a world full of black and white is always going to be better with a splash of color in it. How I Learned to Snap by Kirk Read, and Jesse won the school talent show, and it was my introduction to the boy who would change my life forever. The next morning, I saw Jesse walking to school, and I prepped myself and I got ready because I was so excited to talk to him, and I saw him walking across the street and I was about to head over and a green Jeep pulled up next to him. It was Simon Gerardo. And Simon got out of his car and walked towards Jesse, and then he kicked Jesse to the ground. I mean, it was blow after blow after blow, and it never seemed to stop. Word spread like wildfire that Simon had kicked Jesse's ass at school. Everybody knew, the students, the teachers, the principal knew, but nothing happened to Simon. Nothing ever happened to Simon. And you know, Jesse was kind of like the gay Rosa Parks of Virginia. He got a bus driver fired. One day we were walking to school and we were talking, having a great old time, when a bus of students pulled up next to us and they stuck their heads out of their windows and they shouted, "Gay! Queer!" And I just stood there frozen. But Jesse stood there valiantly and lifted his middle finger in the air and snapped, "I am not afraid." You know that the bus driver tells them to call him those things? Every single day he tells them to heckle us. And you know, after being heckled by hundreds of kids, Jesse positioned me in front of a mirror and he said, "Let the children hear you. Let them know you are not afraid. Say it, I am not afraid." I am not afraid. 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 And the next day I was practicing my new snap and I was getting into it when I felt a tug on my backpack. And I looked over to see who it was, and it was Simon, and he had shoved me against the locker. "Are you queer? Are you one of them?" And I couldn't move or even speak. I said, "Are you a queer?" "Yes." "Yes." "Louder." "Yes." And then he kicked my stomach and pushed me to the ground. And then he walked away. And when I lifted my head up, a teacher came to me and she said, "Well, why didn't you do anything? You saw it coming, didn't you?" Because I am not afraid. I am not afraid. Every shove, every epithet, every time that I held my breath in that locker room, because I knew if I breathed I would be pummeled to the ground every time. I waited for the teacher to mention the gay kid in the back, and every time that they didn't, I snapped. Because I am not afraid. Not anymore. And before I knew it, it was my senior year, and I hadn't written my final paper for my English class, and the assignment was to write a paper on what is the authentic man. So I read it and I turned mine in and presented mine to the class, and it was my classmate Preston's turn. So we went up to the podium and began. The definition of an authentic man is Kirk Read. Out of all the people in the world, out of all the celebrities, you chose me? Why? And he began his speech. Because Kirk Read chooses to live his life at great risk. He went on for 3 pages telling him about how I taught him to live life. And that was just fascinating. Because I've heard stories of gay kids and straight kids alike, and some are funny, and some are absolutely petrifying. And when he was done, the audience started clapping and they started cheering, and I don't remember how long it lasted or when it started, but it seemed that gays got a lot of applause. And that is how I learned to snap.